This is the Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650. I've been very excited to get my hands on this bike ever since it was unveiled, and now I finally have, thanks to Cooperb motorcycles. So in today's video I'm going to give it a full review. This video is sponsored by Bikesure Motorcycle Insurance. Both myself and the old man have been using Bikesure for a number of years, and we couldn't be happier with them. And they're very good at getting you a quote as an individual. So rather than just going on a comparison website, give them a call. They can tailor a quote to you and get you the exact quote that meets your needs. So click the link in the description. We'll leave their website link in the description, so go and check them out. First things first, doesn't this thing look beautiful? I find myself saying that every time I ride a Royal Enfield, because whoever does their styling knows it's a very, very good looking bike, and it's pretty good value for money as well. So this colour I've got it in here is called Interstellar Grey, and this comes in at £6,099. There are some base colours which are £6,799, and then there's two premium colours which are £7,299 in the UK. So this thing is pretty reasonably priced, especially for what you're getting. So no complaints there. If you watch the channel and you've been watching us for a while, you know that we're very into cruise cycles, and you'll know that I'm not particularly a fan of forward controls. So getting onto this bike, I did find it a little bit alien at first because it has got forward controls, but after riding it for 5 or 10 minutes and you get used to them, these are actually very comfortable and they're positioned very nicely. They're not too far out in front so that you're stretched right out. But the riding position is extremely comfortable on this bike, and I could quite happily sit on this bike and do a long motorway journey and not worry about it. I wouldn't think twice. The seat's very comfortable, the riding position is just spot on, the handlebars are in a nice position, they're nice and wide but not too wide, so and the sweep back on them is just perfect, not too angled. So riding position wise, this is a very comfortable bike, so I'm really impressed with that. The seat height is 740 millimeters. I am 6'1", and this is what the bike looks like with me on it. So it's a very comfortable riding position. As you can see, my legs are nicely out at a nice angle and they're not too far ahead, like you would find on some Harleys with forward controls. They've got them right out there. This is just right. It's a nice in between really forward controls and mids, and my arms feel nice and stretched out, perfect angle, so it's extremely comfortable for someone of my height. If you were too short, you might find it a bit of a stretch. So it's actually, I think, one of the bikes that is tailored for taller riders, so very good to see. The engine in the Super Meteor is the same parallel twin that you'll find in the Interceptor and the Continental GT, slightly different in styling, but it's the same underneath. This is, to be precise, a 648cc parallel twin. It produces 34.6 kilowatts, which is about 46.5 horsepower at 7,250 RPM, and that's right on the limit of what you're allowed on the A2 license. So this is A2 compatible for those of you who are in Europe and the UK, and we have these stupid licensing laws, so you can ride this at 19. And it produces 52.3 newton meters of torque at 5,650 RPM. And it does feel like it's got a lot of low down grunt. It's a very grunty engine. I absolutely love this engine. With the exhaust on the Meteor 650, it's very subtle. I think perhaps a little bit more subtle than the standard exhaust on the Continental and the Interceptor. But as you'll know if you watched my latest review of the BSA versus the Interceptor, which was fitted with S&S slip-ons, you can really make this engine sound fantastic. So stick an aftermarket exhaust on here and you'll sound amazing. The Super Meteor has a different riding feel to the other Royal Enfields. It's a little bit more laid back in feel, and I think that's largely to do with the riding position. It promotes a more cruiser ride, which is obviously what it's designed for. You don't get on it and think, I want to wring its neck in. You just kind of want to relax, enjoy the scenery and enjoy the ride. So that's what I found myself doing. But if you do open it up, of course, it's got the same 650 that's in the Interceptor and the Continental. So it has got plenty of oomph, and on a couple of occasions I have given it some and it goes very well. So you don't find yourself wanting more. It's got plenty enough power for the real world. Low down, you've got plenty of torque. And if you're sitting at motorway speeds, so if you're planning on doing some long journeys on this bike, stick it in 6th gear, and it'll stay at low RPMs at motorway speeds. So I'd be very happy doing long journeys on this bike. Round the corners, it's very confidence inspiring. It doesn't want to lean in like some of the other Royal Enfields, so you sort of take the corners a little bit slower, which is what I found myself doing. So it's a nice, gentlemanly cruiser ride. Before we carry on with the video, please make sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out massively, and we've got big things planned this year. Plenty of reviews to come from many different brands, so you don't want to miss out. Hit the bell notification so you get notified when we upload a new video. And leave your comments down below. What you think of this motorcycle? Have you ridden it? If so, what were your thoughts? And if you've bought one, let us know what you're thinking of it so far. And also, if you don't know, we are on Instagram, so please do give us a follow over on Instagram as well, and I'll leave our handle on the screen now and the link in the description. The suspension, you've got upside down forks on the front and twin shocks on the rear. It feels a little bit firmer than some of the other Royal Enfields. So you do notice the bumps a little bit. If you're going over a harsh bump, you might notice it, but it's not too firm. So it's a nice middle ground, which means that you're still getting nice handling, but it's not too wallowy. They don't want it to be too soft because then it would not handle very well. It's extremely stable. Which I noticed. There's no twitchiness at all with this bike. So again, sitting at in a straight line, it's just absolutely dead straight. You know, it's so stable. But yeah, the suspension is very good. This bike weighs 241 kilograms. That's with 90% fuel and oil in the bike. It didn't feel heavy at all, but it also doesn't feel, it's not the lightest thing in the world, but it doesn't feel too heavy compared to a Harley. It is a bit lighter. So good weight. The fuel tank is 15.7 litres. I can't seem to find the fuel economy figures anywhere for this bike, so let me know down in the comments below if you know the fuel economy figures. That would be helpful. But I imagine it's very similar to those of the Interceptor, which was around 70 miles per gallon. So pretty good, if you ask me. The mirrors on the Meteor aren't too bad. They're quite small, so I can't see loads of the road behind me, but I could see majority of, so they weren't an issue, and they are very beautiful. So not really any complaints there. The dials, as with all Royal Enfields, very good looking. Tells you what you need to know. You've got an odometer, tells you what gear in, how much fuel you've got, the time, etc. And then you've got a beautiful dial around the edge, which is analog. And then to the right, you've got the Tripper navigation system, which is very good. And it just sort of tells you sort of arrows as to where you're going next. So very helpful, and it's not very cluttered, so it looks very simplistic, which is what I love. I love simplicity, and the Royal Enfield delivers. It has a single disc brake on the front and the rear. Stopping power isn't incredible, but it's perfectly enough for the sort of riding you'll be doing on this bike, unless you are riding it extremely quickly, in which case you might find stopping rather quickly not the best, but perfectly good enough for the sort of riding I'd be doing on this bike, which is cruising. The alloy wheels on the Meteor are very good looking. They're nicely styled. I do prefer spoked wheels as a whole, looks wise. I think they're beautiful, but practicality wise these are much easier to clean, and you've got tubeless tyres, so most of you will be pleased to know about that. And they've put a sort of wider tyre on the rear to what they usually do, and that caters into the stability. So one of the reasons why I've noticed how stable this bike is will be to do with that wider rear tyre, which has made a dramatic difference, I'll tell you that. The styling of this bike is bang on, really. I wouldn't really change anything to do with this bike. The curves and the lines are just absolutely beautiful. It flows very nicely. You've got a nice sized mudguard on the front, which will actually do some work as well as look nice. So it does keep the mud off the radiator, but lower down you're still going to get some mud on the bottom of the exhaust, etc. Especially on a day like today where it's horribly wet and muddy. You've got an LED headlamp on the front, which is very classically styled, but very good and modern. So this bike balances classic and modern cruiser very nicely, which is something I like about this. It's not futuristic. It's got the classic feel, but slightly modernised, which is just spot on. The tank is a lovely shape, and you've got these nice Royal Enfield medallions on the side, which are very beautiful, good quality, you know, it's all metal. A nice Royal Enfield logo on the side of the engine there, which is very nice. It's just all very nicely styled, isn't it? And then this rear mudguard is very nice shape, and you've got this tail lamp on the back, which is very old school. I really like that. This bike does come with pillion capability as standard. You've got rear pegs already fitted, which are nice, nice and padded rubber, so perfectly good. And this rear seat is nice and padded, so I wouldn't want to sit on the back for a long ride, but if you were doing sort of an hour and a half journey, I'm sure you wouldn't be too numb after that. You've got this little leather strap in the rear seat as well, and you've got these two loops either side, so if you're not carrying a pillion, you could quite easily put a bag on the back there and strap it down using these two loops. So that's very handy and practical, especially if you're doing a longer journey and you need a bit of luggage with you. So then, if you are looking at buying a low capacity, lightweight cruiser motorcycle, this is the one to buy, absolutely. If I was looking for one and I was in the market, this would be the one I would get. Now that Harley-Davidson aren't doing the Iron 883 anymore, at least for the European and UK markets, they've left a gap there, which I think this fills very nicely. If you don't want something revvy like the new Sportsters, which you can't ride on an A2 licence anyway, then you'd want to look at something like this. And if you're looking at one of the more modern cruisers, like a Honda Rebel 500, personally I'd go for this. This has got way more character, it's much more classically styled, which is what I look for in a motorcycle, whereas a Honda's much more sort of modern and refined, which lacks character and can leave you feeling a little bit empty afterwards, whereas this fills your soul. It's soul fuel. This is petrol for the human mind, if you like motorbikes. And if you are looking for one of these, please do check out Cooperb Motorcycles. They're a fantastic dealership, family owned, family run, and Ian or Jack would be more than happy to help you out. And even if you're just looking for somewhere to go for the day, have a look around. They've got loads of bikes in there. It's really nicely styled, and they've got loads of these coming in. I know they've got sort of 10 customer sort of deliveries this week. So these bikes are selling, I can tell you that for sure, and I'm not surprised one bit. Thanks very much for watching. Again, please like and subscribe if you haven't done already. It is absolutely free, it doesn't cost you a penny. And over 75% of you watching these videos haven't subscribed, so we want to turn that around. So if you do watch our videos and you haven't yet subscribed, we'd really like to welcome you on board, so please do. Let me know what you thought of today's video. What do you think of the Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650? And I will see you in the next video.